Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Jagger and I work for Cornerstone in the Solution Consulting team. In this demonstration, I'm going to take you on a tour of the EdCast Learner Experience platform, specifically from the learner's perspective. Other demonstrations cover the manager's perspective and the curator or administrator's perspective. We'll start with just one slide, and a slide that summarises the whole of the LXP experience. So in this slide, we have the learner at the centre. Let's call her Sally. As the name suggests, a learner experience platform is all about the learner's experience. So the learner is the absolute centre of everything we do in the LXP. On the left-hand side, you'll see some examples of content sources that the LXP can bring together into a unified catalogue. And they can include, for example, working from the bottom upwards, your learning management system or learning management systems if you have multiple LMSs, free and open content from the web, content from licensed content providers, and you'll see some examples there. Frankly, there's no limit to the number and variety of content providers that we can integrate with. And at last count, the EdCast LXP had successfully integrated with well over 120 different content platforms. Next up are internal sources. So for example, your SharePoint environment or your G Drive or Box, anywhere where there is, for example, document and presentation sharing. And then last, but perhaps most important, is the tacit knowledge of the people within your business. Their skills, their knowledge, their experience will always be more relevant and outweigh in terms of volume anything that you can license from the web. So, 5 different categories of sources of content. There is no limit to the number and variety of different content sources with which the EdCast LXP can integrate. At the simplest level, so long as they can export a CSV file, we can integrate with them. If they have a public API, even better. On the right-hand side of Sally, you see examples of logos of what we call learning in the flow of work widgets. With the LXP, we like to bring the learning to the learner rather than have the learner go to the learning. So there are a number and variety of different learning in the flow of work widgets that we've produced, including those for the applications that you see on the right hand side and others, which allow us to integrate the learner experience platform directly into the applications that users are using every day. Sally is at the centre in this experience, and throughout the demo, I'm going to focus on the learner's experience. Let's take our first look at the learner's experience, and we're going to start here in the Google Chrome browser. I can use search in Google Chrome to search for anything that I wish. Let's suppose I'm interested in searching for example, data science. As you would expect, Google will come back with its many billions of results. But perhaps what you did not expect is to see results presented from the learner experience platform. And there they are, right at the top of the Google search results. This is an example, just one example, of a learning in the flow of work widget. So I have downloaded and installed the EdCast LXP widget for Google Chrome. There are widgets available for a wide range of other corporate applications. And what you see at the top of the search results here is content. Each of these playing card size artifacts here is what we call a smart card in the context of the LXP. A smart card is simply a wrapper around a piece of content. We will come on to explore smart cards in more detail later on. But what you can see is the results here are all related to data science. And indeed, there's not just these 4, this is a carousel. So I can go off and have a look at other content. Directly here from within the browser, I can like, I can share, I can bookmark content. I could assign the content to myself, for example, so I could add it to my own learning plan. And of course, I can access the content as well. So directly from within the browser, without leaving the browser, using search within Google, I've immediately got results from Google, which I see down here, and results brought in directly from the EdCast Learner Experience platform. You'll also note that content is coming from different sources. So there's quite a lot of material here from edX, but as I pan through, you'll see other sources of content. So content can be available from any source, and what has happened here is the EdCast LXP has used this search criteria for data science to bring up content which is most relevant. There are many other things that I can do with the Learning in the Flow of Work widget here in Google Chrome. I won't go into great detail now, but suffice to say, I can even curate and create content directly into the LXP without leaving the browser. Another example of a Learning in the Flow of Work widget can be seen here. I'm currently in Microsoft Teams. In fact, I'm in the production environment of Microsoft Teams for Cornerstone. You'll see on the left-hand side, there is an icon here for EdCast. So again, a widget that's been installed to enable the EdCast LXP directly within the Microsoft Teams environment. So I don't have to leave Teams in order to be able to get access to learning in the flow of work. You'll see here, for example, that I can conduct a search. And if I conduct a search, it's going to search the learner experience platform. Let's search for a zeitgeist topic such as Agile. And what I will receive after a short delay is recommendations on content from the free and open web, content from trusted sources that are connected to the learner experience platform. I will also receive recommendations on channels. We'll come on to those in a little bit more detail later on. And other users, other people within the learner experience platform that perhaps are known for their skills in Agile. Maybe they've got a digital badge in Agile. Maybe they have verified skills that relate to the Agile subject domain. If I go here, under the home page, you'll see that I'm presented a series of feeds. Each of these carousels is a feed. So there are 4 smart cards here. These smart cards in this recommended feed are presented to me because I have self-identified particular subject domains that I am interested in. We'll come on to see how that's done in a short while. You'll also see a feed based upon the learning that's been formally assigned to me. So anything that's required learning, perhaps it's mandatory, will appear in this feed. That will also include content which is fed through from a learning management system, where it's been assigned to me as an individual user or me as a member of a group. I have another feed based upon the other users within the learner experience platform that I choose to follow, or groups that I'm a member of, or channels that I choose to follow. And last but not least, a feed which contains content promoted by the business, content which is profiled for everyone. Maybe it's supporting a quarterly campaign. For example, we may have a particular focus on leadership across the business for all employees, from the newest apprentice through to the CEO. So if we want to support that campaign, then that can be done by putting content here which is promoted, profiled for everyone. Many of the other features and functions of the browser experience are reflected here in the Microsoft Teams widget. In fact, it is near functional parity between the browser experience and the Microsoft Teams experience. There's really only one thing that you can't do in the Microsoft Teams experience that you can do to the fullest extent in the browser experience, and that is administer the LXP. So that's the second example of a learning in the flow of work widget. Everything that you as a learner would need to be able to do can be done here within the Microsoft Teams environment without even logging in to the LXP. Now, let's go to the browser experience. I've logged into the EdCast Learner Experience platform, and I've logged into exactly the same instance as was connected to Google Chrome through that Learning in the Flow of Work widget and Microsoft Teams. We call it Spark Squared. It is essentially our show home. This is my profile. My profile in this show home environment allows me to play the role of learner, manager, curator, and administrator. Once again, throughout this demo, I'm focusing on the learner perspective only. First thing to say about the browser experience is it is designed to be an intuitive, consumer-grade digital platform. So it doesn't require training in order to be able to learn it. Everything about the experience that you would reasonably expect to be customizable, such as logos, color schemes, terminology, so for example, what these pages are called, the order that they appear in, whether they appear at all of these things are configurable within the learner experience environment. So the LXP can be branded to your identity, it can use your terminology, and learners can arrive at the LXP at whatever page you decide is most important for them. Here, in this show home environment, they've arrived at the home page. The home page has 4 subordinate feeds. These are identical to the feeds that I previously showed in Microsoft Teams. The first of which is the recommended feed. What I'm seeing here is content which is presented to me from all manner of trusted sources connected to the learner experience platform based upon my personal interests or learning goals. We will see in a short while how they are set. So this feed is always personal to the learner. Whatever their goals are is what will influence the content that appears here. It is also influenced by their past actions, their likes, their rates, their shares, their completions, and the actions of their immediate crowd, other users like them. For example, people that they choose to follow, or people that are in the same groups as I am currently within. The second feed is the assigned feed. Here we see learning that I as a learner must complete. So this would contain learning that's been formally assigned to me, for example, by the administrator through a learning management system, or by my line manager, or can also be self-assigned. There's nothing to stop me adding learning to my own personal learning plan and setting a due date. Here, for example, you'll see there's a piece of content that I have assigned to myself to complete by the end of November 2022. Another piece of content that's self-assigned, which I've been generous, I've given myself until year end. Further down here though, we'll see examples of content which have been assigned by another user. So in this context, the user David is actually playing the role of my line manager. So David could have assigned me that content. Any learning content which is assigned through a learning management system integrated with the LXP, such as learning which is required for compliance or mandatory purposes, would be highlighted here and would form part of the assigned learning for each individual learner. Again, the assigned feed will be personal because it will be a mix of self-assigned learning, manager-assigned learning, and administrator-assigned learning. Third feed, following. This feed shows me content based upon the other users, the other people, the channels and the groups that I choose to follow or be a member of within the LXP. So again, this is always personal to me because which users I choose to follow, which channels I choose to follow, which groups I'm a member of are likely to differ from other users. All three of these first 3 feeds here are personal to me. So they will vary from one user to another. If I choose not to interact with the content, it refreshes every 24 hours. The last feed is the promoted feed. As I indicated when I was describing the Microsoft Teams widget, content here is profiled for everyone in the business. from the newest apprentice through to the chief executive officer, and typically would be used by an L&D program manager or an HR partner to support an enterprise-wide campaign. So this is in no way specific to me as an individual, other than that I am an employee within the business. There are other ways to profile specific content targeted to me based upon, for example, my job role or my career path or the location where I'm based. So there we are, we have the feeds. Let's have a look at my profile, because that is what influences what appears in the recommended feed. So I'm going to click here on my profile. You will see that amongst other things, such as my photo and job title, a brief biography, I have here a number of learning interests that I have self-selected. It is these interests that influence the recommended feed, which in this particular demo instance is where the learner first arrives at learning that is recommended for them. I can vary these interests. When first a learner logs into the LXP, so on first contact with the LXP, the learner is required to select a number of learning goals. These goals then inform the recommended feed. They can be changed at a later state, or a later stage rather. In fact, they can be changed at any time, and the impact of changing them is immediate. Let's suppose that for the last 3 weeks, I have had a particular interest in agile development, and I've already consumed some content. I've learned what I need to know at a beginner level of proficiency around agile. So I'm going to remove that now and say that's no longer an area of particular focus for me at this point in time. Perhaps I've learned everything I needed to know for a recent project. But I do have a need to learn something around, for example, let's have a look at visual design. Now, you see that I started a search there and search for visual. How has the LXP brought up these particular example goals here? Well, these are all drawn from whatever skills taxonomy the EdCast Learner Experience platform is using. The EdCast Learner Experience platform skills architecture is firstly open, secondly agnostic, thirdly fully flexible. What that means is that you can integrate any number and variety of different skills taxonomies from any source of record for skilling with the EdCast LXP, and it will respect them all. You are not in any way constrained to one skills taxonomy or the out-of-the-box skills taxonomy. Anyway, I'm going to say that I want to learn something about visual design, and again, I'm going to say that I'm a complete beginner on this, so that will influence the recommendations that appear in the recommended feed. So I'll save that. So visual design has become one of my learning interests. I've specified at the beginner level, and that will then immediately influence what appears here in the recommended feed. Once again, if I choose not to interact with the content that's presented to me in the recommended feed, it will refresh every 24 hours. If I complete a piece of content within the recommended feed, then it's marked as completed. It is not presented to me again. The next aspect of the Learner Experience platform I'd like to show you is that of the skills passport. As I develop skills within the LXP, they can be recorded so that I have a record of all the skills that I have accrued in my current or previous employment. And they're recorded in this skills passport. The skills passport is personal to me. Within this demonstration environment, you can see that I presently have 41 skills recorded. Here they are in some detail. Again, this is a carousel, so I can whiz through them. And somewhere in here, I might see, for example, demonstration skills. Let's have a little bit more look in more detail there. So this is a skill that I was awarded in September of last year. I was awarded it at the advanced level of proficiency. We allow you to define what your own levels of proficiency are called and what they mean. And I have at least 5 years experience. So obviously I'm demonstrating some of that skill to you now. So these skills that I've acquired have been verified one of a number of different ways. Could have been through completing a learning pathway within the learner experience platform, which has an assessment within it. It could have been by dint of completing a self and peer assessment. It could have been through the acquisition of digital badges. And you see here that the LXP allows me to integrate digital badges, some of which are in platform. These two have been awarded for completion of learning plans within the LXP that have assessments built into them. This one here was awarded by a third-party professional body. This one was awarded to me by a former employer. This one was awarded to me by an IT industry examining body, and so on and so forth. If these have skills associated with them that have been externally verified or internally verified through an assessment, they can also be added to my skills passport. You'll also see down here that I have incorporated various certificates. So this one, for example, Chartered Management Consultant, is a professional registration awarded by the Chartered Management Institute, and it has associated with it the skill of management consulting. So there are various ways in which skills can be accrued here. They can be skills from previous employment, current employment, or skills outside of employment. For example, evening classes, higher education, further education, membership of professional bodies. Badges can be awarded internally, or they can be ingested from a third-party open digital badge platform, such as Credly or Badger. And we support all of these and other ways to assess and verify skills acquisition. These skills, once acquired, can then be made visible within the LXP to other users. Presently, I have enabled my skills profile to be publicly visible within the learner experience platform. That means I can be discovered and searched for based upon the skills that I have that have been verified. Now let's go on to look at another aspect of the learner's experience within the LXP, that of groups. Groups are social constructs within the learner experience platform. They allow me to bring people together. People that have either, for example, a common interest, a common career grade. They may work in the same location. They may be working on the same project. There is no limit to the number and variety of groups that can be created within the LXP. Groups can be perpetual, or they can be short-term. For example, they may exist for the duration of the project. They may also exist to serve a particular community that moves through a group and then out of it. For example, here we have a group for people that are onboarding, new joiners to the business. Let's have a look inside. This group currently has 31 members. So users within the LXP who are members of the group. You'll see there's a group administrator, and in this case, I'm also the group leader. This particular group is aimed at new hires, people that have joined the business recently. Membership of the group could be automated through a dynamic workflow. For example, we could integrate with your HR information system, and if a user account has been provisioned within the last 5 working days, that could be a business rule that says automatically add this new user to the onboarding group in the learner experience platform. The configuration of those dynamic workflows and the business rules that enable them are very simple to do in the administrative backend. But for today, I'm focusing on the learner's experience. So 31 learners in this particular group. You can see the group has its own leaderboard, so we can see who's most active within the group. You can see that there is content presented here within the group. The group can collectively be assigned learning. So, for example, all of this learning here is group assigned learning. What that means is if a learner joins this group tomorrow, they will automatically be assigned the backlog of learning for people that are onboarding to the business. Another example of automation. So learners can be automatically added to the group through a business rule, and then learners will automatically pick up the group assigned learning for people that are in their onboarding journey. The group's capability also has a in-platform chat here, so group members can collaborate with each other. And indeed, this group can be set up so that members within the group can be empowered to share learning content with each other if you so desire. There's no limit to the number and variety of groups that can be configured. If we go back to the groups page here, you'll see that in this particular environment there are a number of groups. Groups can be public, so they can be open to anyone, such as the Sales Academy here, or they can be private, by which what that means is that membership is by invitation only. A private group is a closed group. This group, for example, is for fellow solution consultants. You'll see in this environment I'm one of the administrators, and some, not all of my colleagues, but some of my colleagues here are members of the solution consulting group. Once again, there's a leaderboard. Once again, there can be group assignments, so learning activities which everyone in the group is expected to complete and will be automatically added to their personal learning plan. And once again, there's an in-group chat. Another function of groups is that membership of a group can be made mandatory. What that means is that a learner cannot self-select out of the group. They cannot leave it. A good example of where that would apply would again be, for example, during onboarding. It would not be logical for a learner who's new to the business to be able to self-select out of their onboarding journey. So the onboarding group can be made mandatory. When it's mandatory, that means that a learner cannot leave it unless an administrator or a group leader intervenes. For example, that they successfully complete all of their onboarding activities. A learner can join as many groups as they wish. Group membership is one of the criteria that influences what learning appears in the following feed. Content associated with people I follow, channels I follow, and groups that I happen to be a member of. The next concept to show you is the Discover page. The Discover page is a curated experience of channels. Channels are essentially a bookshelf, if you like, of deliberately curated content supporting a topic domain. As with groups, there's no limit to the number and variety of channels that can be configured within the Learner Experience platform. But whereas groups bring people together in a social and collaborative environment, channels bring content together. Each of these visuals that you see here is a doorway, a channel, if you like, a doorway into a channel. Here you'll see a series of channels that are grouped together in a carousel. This carousel is called onboarding. So here we see 5 channels related to onboarding topics. There's a general channel about the business, and then there are specific channels related to onboarding into different aspects of the business. Here's another carousel. This is the Leadership Academy. It contains 6 channels. Each of them is related to a topic supporting leadership skills. Let's have a look inside one of these. If I go into the coaching channel, so I click on this, what we will find is content that has been curated to support the skill of coaching. Now, the content that's curated here is typically curated by someone who has a level of subject domain knowledge in coaching, so they can be a curator for the channel. But the LXP also supports AI-based recommendations. So a curator can get recommendations which they can accept or reject. Those recommendations can be focused around a particular skill, such as coaching, and can even be limited to specific content resources, specific types of content, for example, only videos and articles and courses, and even specific trusted sources. So what recommendations the curator receives can vary. But what's presented here is for the learner to consume. So the curator has built an experience deliberately bringing together content which supports this subject domain into a single channel. If you think of it a little bit like a curated bookshelf in a library, you might go into your local public library and find that there is a bookshelf of the top 40 novels of this month. And that is a deliberately curated experience by a librarian. A channel is similar. Once again, no limit to the number and variety of channels that you can have. Which channels appear can differ by user group membership. So presently I'm a member of the onboarding group. It makes sense for me to see channels related to onboarding. If, for example, I'm a learner who's completed their onboarding journey, it would not make sense for me to continue to see these channels. So which channels appear to the learner can differ based upon their group membership. If, for example, I was an upline manager and been with the business 5 years, then perhaps it's more relevant that I see these channels. The Discover page can also bring together experts. So you can choose to profile specific users that perhaps have skills, qualifications, experiences, or in job roles that are related to particular skills that you want to focus in on at this point in time. So you're giving these users a particular profile and promotion within the Discover page. This does not mean that these are the only experts within the business, but these are the ones who are choosing to profile at this point in time. In a similar way, we can also profile featured content providers. Let's suppose you've recently signed an agreement for Cornerstone Content Anytime, and you might want to give that a bit of a promotion and give some focus to that particular content provider for the next 3 months, because it's a new licensed content provider that is available to users within the business. So here I can see content which is coming from Cornerstone Content Anytime. And that would be true of any other content provider that I might choose to sign an agreement with. Once again, just as with experts, it doesn't mean these are all of the content providers. It's just the ones I'm choosing to give some promotion to and a bit more of a profile at this point in time. So that's the Discover page, a deliberately curated experience that allows curators to bring together content for learners which is related to specific topics or subject domains. So we've learned a little bit about the concept of content and how that can be presented in feeds, and how the first 3 feeds are personal. The 4th one is profiled for the whole business. We've learned a little bit about the concept of groups and how there's no limit to the number and variety of groups that can be configured. They can be public and private, and I can join groups if they're public. I can be invited to join a group if they're private. We've learned a little bit about the Discover page and the fact that it has channels, which are deliberately curated experiences around topic domains. Throughout the LXP, at any point in time, just as we have in the Learning and the Flow of Work widgets, we always have access to search. And our search uses natural language processing, and it is an elastic search. So if we were to go and search for topics such as leadership skills, the search results would be exactly the same as I would receive if I'd done this search in Google Chrome or in the Microsoft Teams widget, so long as I'm connected to the same instance of the LXP that has access to the same trusted sources of learning. Because this is a very, very broad subject and there are many pieces of content, you'll see that I've got, well, in fact, over 10,000 results. So I might want to filter those results somewhat and constrain them. So I might only be interested in free content. I'm only interested in content from GetAbstract that is in English, that is an article that's no more than 10 minutes long. So let's apply those filters and see what happens. So same search criteria, but I'm going to filter them. So I've gone from over 10,000 results to 443 results for leadership skills. What we're seeing here is content that's coming from trusted sources connected to the learner experience platform, and because I filtered explicitly for GetAbstract as a trusted source, it's bringing me content here only from that particular content provider with which I have an integration here in this particular learning experience platform. What I'm also going to see is content that comes from the free and open web, or content which has been curated because it relates to that particular skill set, but is, for example, YouTube clips, Harvard Business Review, so on and so forth. I'm also receiving results for people, not just content, but people that have leadership skills. So other users within the LXP that are known for their skills in leadership. So I might have had a look at Onion's profile here and think, actually, he's got relevant skills in leadership. So I'm going to follow him. I can follow Onion, and then what will happen is content that he creates or curates will appear under the home following feed, just as the following feed takes account of which channels and groups that I'm a member of. It will also take account of which other users I choose to follow. The search results will also show me any channels that are tagged with leadership skills and any groups that are working on leadership skills. So my search results always bring back content, people, channels, and groups. It's never content on its own. And the content will include that which is coming from integrated sources connected to the LXP, for which you have, for example, a license, or content which is coming from your learning management system, and content from the free and open web. Just to give you a brief illustration of how many different content sources the LXP can be connected to, this particular demo environment is connected to quite a wide array of content sources. So we already saw that I'd selected GetAbstract during the exercise of filtering the search results. And you'll see here there are other examples. If I click on more, I'll be able to skim through this, and you'll see there's quite a long list of trusted sources of content to which this particular demo instance is connected. And this should give you confidence that really there is no limit to the number and variety of different sources of content to which the learner experience platform can be connected, including all of the industry leading ones you see here. Pearson, you see here the LMS Saba, Metal, an assessment platform, Talent Quest, and so on and so forth. Udacity, Gartner, and it goes on. So, no limit to the number and variety of trusted sources of content to which the LXP is connected. Just because your preferred platform is perhaps not within this list does not mean that we cannot connect to it. It's just not connected to this particular demo environment. So there we go. Search, an immensely powerful capability within the LXP that's also available from the Learning in the Flow of Work widgets and from the Chrome browser environment. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you in the browser experience is the concept of user-generated content. Before we do that, though, we're going to take a little look at an example of a piece of content. Earlier, I mentioned the construct of a smart card, which is one of these playing card artifacts here. If I click on this one, And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole of the smart card. There we go. So a smart card is simply a wrapper around a single piece of content. Why do we create this smart card wrapper? Well, not every content platform has the capability to like, comment, share, rate, mark as complete, bookmark, self-assign, assign to others, if, for example, I'm a line manager, promote content, or report it. Every learner has the ability to report content for these reasons. It may be broken, may be misleading, may not be safe for work, could be out of date, or any other reason of their preference. So the smart card wrapper that we see here provides that consistent experience no matter the type of content, no matter the duration of content, no matter the source of the content, no matter the language of the content. It always provides a common, consistent experience for liking, commenting, sharing, rating, marking complete, bookmark, self-assign, assign to others, promotion, reporting. And indeed, commenting can also be done with tags. So I can tag a colleague. Let's go and tag my colleague David Stanley, who in this demo environment plays the role of my line manager. Hello, David. I think you may enjoy this. Now, if I comment on that as a user, what will happen is David will receive an in-platform notification up here. So he will receive a notification that I have commented on this piece of content, and that notification will allow him to click through directly to this piece of content. That's not the same as sharing it or assigning it to them. I'm just commenting on it and tagging that other user. I can also tag groups if you so desire. Now, if I were to comment on this, of course, the notification would go to David, not to me, but let's just show you quickly what those notifications look like. So here we go. These are notifications I have received from other users. Notifications here are in addition to the learner receiving an email in their inbox, and the LXP has a fully configurable notification framework. So we've covered the concept of what a smart card is, a wrapper around a single piece of content. Up here, you'll see the Create button. Access to this button is controlled by role-based access control. It can be granted to some, all, or none of the learners in the LXP. The Create button allows learners with the appropriate role-based access control to create smart cards. So a single smart card is a single piece of content. But it also allows them to create pathways. A pathway is a structured sequence of smart cards. And beyond that, it allows them to create journeys. A journey is a stack of pathways which can be progressively unlocked. For example, pathway 1, month 1, pathway 2, month 2, as you might have in an onboarding journey. Let's have a look at the examples of smart cards that I can create within the LXP. So there are 9 smart card types supported out of the box here with the browser experience. Web URL. So I can paste in a web link. And if I paste in a web link, it will automatically extract a title, description, and a visual image. Let's have a go at that and see it in action. So I'm going to come out of the browser tab now and go back to Google Chrome. And let's do that search again for data science. So I've got 5.7 billion odd results. And in a second, the LXP is going to respond with search results. This is exactly the same search as if I had typed in data science within the LXP search criteria. But down here, there is other content. And there is a piece of content here. I might take a look at this and think, yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. I've read this. I want my colleagues to sign up for this. So I can just take that URL and I can pop it in here, back in the browser experience. Let's go back to full screen. And there we go. You'll see that the artificial intelligence within the LXP has pulled out a title. I can put in a brief description. If there wasn't an obvious narrative description in the content to populate, I can provide my own. And there's an appropriate visual image. Default language is English. I could tag skills to this, so I could go and find, is there a skill on data science? So there we go, there's a skill of data science. Again, that's brought in from the skills taxonomy that the LXP is using. Once again, skills taxonomy is open, agnostic, and fully flexible. I could put in some additional text tags which enable search. That's not to duplicate the skills descriptors, but if there was a particular aspect to this book here, maybe it's relevant to, for example, fast-moving consumer goods, then I might put in fast-moving consumer goods as a text tag. And there are other parameters here that I could specify. So I'm going to say this is at beginner level. And I'm going to say it was an 8-minute read. And that content is going to be publicly visible. So as soon as I create the smart card, it will be visible to other users. I could publish it privately, which means it's only available to me or specific users and groups that I choose to share the content with. So let's go ahead and create that. It takes a few seconds, and lo and behold, there is the new smart card, which has been created as a result of my taking that URL link and adding it to the smart card. So back to content creation types. We've seen the basic smart card type of content web URL. I won't go through each of these in the demo, but just to quickly talk you through them. The upload allows me to upload any kind of file, audio, video, podcast, PowerPoint presentation, PDF, whatever you want. Poll, question, answers. Quiz, multiple questions, multiple answers, including multiple correct answers. So I can build a basic text-based quiz within the LXP. All of these tools here are designed to be easy to use. They do not require training. They do not require any specialist authoring skills on the part of the learner. They are designed to be able to use immediately out of the box by any learner at any level of proficiency within the business. Text Smart Card, a WYSIWYG text editor here. SCORM file. It is possible to upload SCORM AICC or XAPI files to the Learner Experience platform if you do not have a learning management system. For most learners, they would have no idea what this is or why they want to use it, and they probably have no access to SCORM content. So this particular smart card type can be individually disabled so that it's not visible to learners. Project Smart Card. This is my favorite one. This is a go, do, review. So I can set a task, like I can put in a title here, go and conduct a demonstration of the LXP and record it. Please go away and record at least a 20-minute demonstration of the EdCast Learning Experience platform, covering the learner's perspective and the key functions. I go away and do that. I upload the video. That can then be graded according to one of these grading schemes by one of these people. Whoever assigned the learning to me, the author of the smart card, or my line manager. And a passing grade or score can be associated with this, and I can allow a maximum number of attempts. So this is a great way to capture evidence of knowledge acquisition and performance of skill in a way that can be then verified and assessed by others. Penultimate smart card here is a live event. This allows me to schedule a one-time live virtual classroom event, time and date of my choice, conferencing tool of my choice. Anything that's got a web link will work. And I can make it open to anyone or moderated enrollment. I can set a class maximum number of attendees, so on and so forth. This is a one-time thing though. It allows me to schedule an event, make it available, learners turn up, attend, consume, complete, and it's then recorded in their personal learning plan. This is designed for learners to be able to use. It does not replace the rich event management capabilities of the learning management system that can support event schedules, different geographies, different venues, different dates, times, instructors, classroom events, live virtual classroom events, hybrid events, so on and so forth. This does not replace that functionality. It is designed for any learner to be able to use. The last type is the live stream. I won't kick that off now because, of course, it will immediately turn on my camera and start broadcasting whilst I'm doing this demo. So those smart card types are supported out of the box. The last content creation thing that I want to show you then is that of creating a pathway. The concept of creating a pathway, once you understand that, you'll be able to understand how multiple pathways can be built into a journey. So we'll close out on user-generated content here. Again, this tool can be constrained in who has access to it. All learners, some, or none. Pathway creation essentially allows you to build a curriculum, a series of smart cards which can involve all manner and variety of learning activities. So a blended or hybrid learning program, if you like. Let's make a pathway, and I'm going to call it my first example pathway. I'm going to give it a brief description. I might want to upload a particular image related to it. I might want to associate skills with it. I might want to put in text tags. I'm going to say this one's in English. It's at a beginner level. I can create my own logo if I want to sort of create my own internal brand. So content could be branded by an L&D program administrator with the corporate identity, content of your own creation and curation. So we can put in here the provider's name and the provider's logo. So your corporate logo, for example. This is going to be public content. I'm going to associate a badge with this. I'm going to choose this particular badge design. Of course, you can upload your own badge designs. And I'm going to call it EdCast for Beginners. There we go. So that's the name of my badge. Now, that's the metadata. It's just a wizard. I complete it. Once I'm done, I click on Continue. Now, to speed things up, I'm going to use the artificial intelligence that's built into the LXP to create a dynamic pathway. What this means is I'm going to type in a topic, so search criteria, and then I'm going to choose a number of smart cards that I want the LXP to automatically generate for me. Let's suppose this pathway, it's going to be about product demonstrations. So wheels within wheels here. I'm going to find out what the LXP thinks are the top 5 most relevant smart cards from all possible trusted sources to which the LXP is connected on this subject domain. Off we go. Oh, there we go. That's very quick. So the LXP has already brought in its suggested answers to that. Now, I might look through these and think, actually, this one, breaking free from product lifecycle, that's not particularly relevant. I'm going to remove that, as is this one, not particularly relevant, so I'm going to remove that. This one I'm going to move to the beginning, and so on and so forth. So I play around with these to my heart's content. I might decide I might need more than that, so I'm going to just put in presentations, a slightly different slant on the topic. And I'm going to ask again 5 smart cards, generate content. Off we go. Takes a few seconds, and the LXP finds. There we go, presentation. I decide this one's really should be at the beginning here, followed by that one. And you get the idea. So I spend some time working on this. Maybe I sit with a subject matter expert to review whether this is the right content and it's in the right order. I might decide I do not want learners to be able to skip beyond these smart cards here because I'll lock them in place. So I have to complete those 2 in sequence before I can move on to this one. I can't skip over them. I could also add my own smart cards. So I could add a quiz, for example, at the end, or a quiz at the beginning, or multiple quizzes. But let's assume that I've finished this exercise now. I've spent maybe 15, 20 minutes on curation. I've moved smart cards about. I've deleted the irrelevant ones. I've done additional searches. I've brought in other content. I've created a quiz. And I'm done with the exercise. So I'm now ready to publish this. Again, it takes a few seconds, and this pathway will, because I've made it public, be immediately visible to other learners within the learner experience platform. So just take a few seconds there, and it should take me to my content screen, and then we'll see. Here we go. I'm going to go and open the pathway directly. So let's have a look at what it looks like. A structured sequence of smart cards. There we go. My first example pathway created by me. On this date, here are those smart cards. You'll see the first two are locked in place. I can't skip over them. I haven't made any progress on this, so it's not showing any progress thus far. Were I to complete it, I would be awarded the in-platform digital badge, which would add to my skills passport. So there we go. A look at the learner capabilities within the LXP to curate and create content. Once again, access to these functions here is controlled by role-based access control. So you'll be able to determine which learners have access to it. But it is designed to capture all of that tacit knowledge, skill and experience that is always greater than anything that you can go and license from the free and open web. The very last thing to show you then is the mobile app. The mobile app is available for iOS and Android from their respective app stores. I'm logged in here on my iPhone and I'm using the mobile app. Obviously you can't see my thumb moving, but hopefully here you can see that I can scroll around within the mobile app. I'm connected here from my phone to the Spark Square demo instance again, so it's one and the same instance as I was connected to in the browser and in the Learning in the Flow of Work widgets. You'll see my profile, top left-hand corner here. If I look at my profile, you'll see the specific learning goals that I have. So those skills that I chose earlier, including that one of data visualization. You'll see my skills passport. You'll see the relationship to my line manager. And you'll see the content that I just curated. So that big book of data science use cases, for example. Here you'll also see the different feeds, the recommended feed, the assigned feed. It's going to take a second. Following feed. Again, just take a second. And the promoted feed. I also have access to the Discover page with all of those channels, which are grouped into carousels. So here you see that carousel of onboarding channels. Here, the Leadership Academy. And earlier we took a look inside the coaching channel. And down here we see those self-same experts and feature providers that we looked at earlier, including, for example, Cornerstone Content Anytime. So the mobile experience offers near functional parity with the browser experience. As with the Microsoft Teams Learning in a Flow of Work widget, there's really only one thing you can't do from the mobile experience, and that is administer the LXP. We also have access to groups here within the mobile experience, and we even have the ability to create content. So if you look to the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that there is a a nib pen icon with a plus sign. If I click on that, it brings up all of these different smart card types that I could support with the mobile experience. There are a couple of additional smart card types in the mobile experience beyond that, which are available in the browser experience. So all in all, the mobile experience offers functional parity from the learner's perspective with the browser experience and is available for iOS and Android. Thank you for your attention. I'll close by taking you back to the slide that I showed right at the beginning, which emphasizes the point that the learner, Sally, is at the center. The LXP puts the learner at the centre and uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to bring together all of those content sources on the left-hand side, any number and variety of sources. There is no limit. It uses AI machine learning to learn the learner's preferences, to observe their behaviour, to respect the learning goals that they choose, who they choose to follow, which groups they are a member of. And the whole of the learner experience can be accessed from not just the browser, but learning in the flow of work widgets and the mobile app, details of which you see on the right-hand side here. Thank you very much for paying attention during this demo. We'd be delighted to answer any questions that you have about the EdCast Learner Experience platform.